the newspaper as a luxury item, 10 theses on why the future is bright.
Einen schönen guten Morgen.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to apologize. We have a traffic jam. So we have a new mayor, Mr. Schwarzenegger, is in town. I am editor-in-chief and managing director of Die Presse. So we save a lot of money because I act as managing director and editor-in-chief at the same time. We may have weathered the crisis, but the crisis is far from over. The newspaper crisis is far from over, but we know how to deal better with it. I would like to start with a small confession. I do not have a presentation. So it's the first time that I'm on stage at a journalists' congress, because normally I do not like to talk to journalists. I prefer to talk to my readers. The organizers have asked me to take another role and to be quite friendly to you. I will try to do that. So journalists' congress, this is not really my cup of tea, because journalists should not talk and listen, but they should work, actually. And I also have to confess, in order to contradict Rainer who praised Facebook, I always find it interesting that at journalists' congress, not too many journalists take the floor. So there are not many people writing an editorial. Very often media managers try to explain to us journalists how the world works. Mr. Oberauer asked me to talk to you, not to talk too much about myself and not to be all too cynical, but we should talk about the good figures that we have achieved. We have very, very good figures as to the digital subscriptions. 17% of our subscriptions are digital. We have 14,000 subscribers if you translate it to the German situation. So this would constitute a golden unicorn of sorts. And we are still working on financing our presence, our web presence. But actually, I was asked to defend the print realm, to defend a newspaper, and to explain why the future is bright. My headhunter, my coach or therapist said that I should avoid at all costs to defend a printed product, because at journalists' congresses, many people will disagree with me, and I should say how important digital is and that print is dead and does not stand any chance. I should talk about disruption, 4.0, 6.0. I should foster change. We should get away from all the print news editors and chiefs. They are history. It's over. It's over and done, but our figures are different. We still make a lot of money with print. In our Sunday edition, we still have seen increasing figures, and I would like to present 10 theses to you, but please do not take them all too seriously. Please also see the humor in some of my points and try to muster a smile. Each medium will remain what it is up to now. Each medium has been declared dead. You all are familiar with the sentence, video killed the radio star. So everything is still available. Video podcast is still around, but maybe on a smaller scale. You could also bring forward the argument that Video 2000 was not really a medium. Secondly, media function in a complementary manner, and they're very flexible, so it is possible. So it's not possible to have moving images on your car radio. Of course, on the metro you will be able to read the news on your iPhone. Maybe not the Zeit Online edition. In the restroom you will be able to read small format newspapers, and it will still be possible to listen to Spotify when jogging. So the media are still all around. They might have changed in scale, complexity, and relevance. Thirdly, a very difficult tenet, there is a kind of yearning for curative assessments, preparation of news, of information. I would just refer to it as completedness. And it's always very reassuring that we can toss the yesterday's news. The fourth tenet, the newspaper. Now it will be very difficult for my digital friends. The printed newspaper is not interactive. It leaves you alone. You do not have to post all the time. You do not have to like all the time. You are left alone. Printed newspapers do not want to know your data. They do not want to know if you watched an animal documentary before we leave you alone. So we just let you enjoy the contents, and if you have a complaint, you can write to us and maybe we will answer. And fifthly, for the French people in the audience, for people who still have sex, newspapers are haptic. They are real. Sixth tenet, the hipster thesis, you all are familiar, maybe the young ones among you. With draft beer, because I think you do not drink industrial beer. Why? Because it's handicraft beer, it's original beer, and this is what the newspaper is. So this is the very basis of journalists. There are great journalistic product from BBC all the way to the digital media, but newspaper has been the basis for all journalistic products. Seventh, where it gets patently absurd. I have prepared 10 theses. Actually, it's written. It's a written media. Might come as a surprise. Just think about one sentence. If you are in the midst of a discussion and things get thorny, you might say, well, provide this information to me in writing. Have you ever heard of someone saying, provide this information to me in moving images? So this applause was hardly fought for. Eighth, and I would like to come to the absolutely absurd title of luxury that I chose in January. I talked to Michael Fleischhacker before this presentation, and on a very charming note, he said that this is not utterly smart, and he explained to me that this is not correct because luxury item would actually mean that a newspaper subscription is a luxury item and should cost several thousand of euros per year. This is not true. What constitutes luxury? Time constitutes luxury, and it's also a gesture and also a statement in times of fake news, in times of accusations brought forward against journalists. Well, if you take your time to read a newspaper, you emit a statement, and this goes to show that you take your time to read a newspaper, and this constitutes true luxury.
All right, let me now come to the ninth theory. A newspaper needs to be unique. Well, often criticism is leveled against us, and we need to put an end to this. We need to have political relevance. We need to reach out to specific target groups. We need to know our readers and write for them. In Germany and in Austria, people often say that journalists write for journalists. So that at night, when they spend some time in a cafe, they can actually show off. Well, it's not working because it won't strike a chord with the readers. Now, if the political commentaries were similar, journalism would run into a problem. Not regarding Facebook or the Americans, but would have a homegrown problem. Well, you shouldn't write anything like Hitler was right. No, 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 no. But you should actually try to come up with certain tenets and refute them or listen to other people's views. That would be a good idea. And the 10th tenet, a newspaper needs to have a value. Well, 10 or 15 years ago, it was said, well, we give away something for free, our content, which is unacceptable. We're just giving away our content for free. But I think that there is a value assigned to a newspaper. We need to make money. I'm not saying that we need a paywall. I don't think that content that's available everywhere should be paid for content. But when we do our own research, when we have scoops, we should charge money, because otherwise everyone would go down the drain, or the whole industry would go down the drain. And an aside on Facebook, there should be greater confidence. We shouldn't say Facebook's good or bad and how do they work and they're taking money away from us. Well, all well and good. But just look at my own personal consumption pattern and that of my children. Facebook, I think, will fall by the wayside itself because the design is quite boring. I think there are other platforms that are much more appealing, like Instagram. So Facebook will be responsible for its own demise. And then one more proposition. Newspapers need to be courageous. And you should never believe what journalists speaking